Hey guys, it's Tim, and this is Pro Wrestling Unlimited, as we are here with the PW Unlimited Wednesday show, episode number 64. So number 64 come to us on February 20th, 2019. How are you guys doing? Let's see who is with us here in the live chat right now. We do have Ashton Tyler, Jonathan Powell, Legendary Howard, Kristen McNutt, I'm him 247, Henry McKenna Cavallo. What's going on, everybody? Getting a little more of you guys jump in here in the live chat as you guys go to trickle in, I mean. And then we'll start talking. Got a number of topics to talk about tonight, and hey, should be an interesting one. We'll also be taking your calls here in a little while, and I want to tell you guys before we get started, I'm not going to do this till the end. But towards the end of the show, I will give you guys a warning, and then we will be talking about the NXT TV spoilers from tonight, as pretty interesting things took place. We know of a couple matches, most likely, actually, yeah, 2 matches that are very likely for NXT TakeOver Blacklist in Brooklyn WrestleMania weekend, and it's not a spoiler, but kind of a spoiler. The Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is back. Now, it's not a spoiler because they announced it on social media, but it will be a spoiler when we talk about who made it to the finals. So as we see some more of you guys jump in here in the live chat, Luke Might, Marcus Ryan, Oscar Vega, George John Cox, Reese Ray, what's going on, everybody? Kristen McNutt in the chat says, Tim, what do you think of Hall of Fame celebrity wing David Arquette? If he wasn't currently wrestling right now, I'd say sure. But because he's a current wrestler on the indie scene, I don't think they'll do it right now. Now, could they? Of course they could. Will they? Probably not. Daniel Gibson, you guys do a great job. Thank you. Thank you for that one, Mr. Daniel Gibson. So the first thing we're going to talk about tonight, about The Undertaker, and how basically Vince McMahon feels about The Undertaker actually working Starrcast. So, you know, when I first heard the news of The Undertaker, he's going to work Starrcast, The Undertaker is going to be doing an autograph signing the same weekend as AEW's Double or Nothing, I didn't really think much of it. You know, the first thing I thought was, okay, this is interesting. This isn't a WWE thing. He doesn't really do much WWE. Now, granted, we do know that he's taking bookings now, charging like $25,000 an hour or $60,000 for 3 hours. So, it probably not cheap that they're getting him for Starrcast. So, preface everything. Apparently, Conrad Thompson went to Bruce Pritchard and said, hey, you think Undertaker would do Starrcast? Bruce said, well, here's his phone number, contact him. Contacted Undertaker. Undertaker immediately told Conrad, speak with my booking agent. Booking agent took care of everything. Then we saw the pictures on social media where Undertaker said that he was going to a special meeting. He flew in, apparently met with Conrad. Conrad then spoke with Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated. Bada boom, the announcement was made. Undertaker will be appearing at a Starrcast. Kristen McNutt says, Taker, the dead man, is using the name for non-WWE appearances. Tim, now here's the thing with that. There was some video. I don't know what the video was all about, but he called himself the dead man. Okay, cool. Here's the thing. The WWE, at one point, trademarked the names Undertaker for wrestling and The Undertaker. The trademark for Undertaker is still an active trademark, but the trademark for The Undertaker is not active as of right now. So what that means is nobody owns a trademark on the name The Undertaker. So they could call him The Undertaker at Starrcast. And when you look at that interview Conrad did with Justin Barrasso talking about The Undertaker coming to Starrcast, he referenced every single time The Undertaker. So that could be the thing that they have to do to get around everything. Mr. Jones is me. You took the words right out of my mouth. Loophole. Yep. I mean, you guys can look it up yourself. You just go to the U.S. Trademark and Patent website, search The Undertaker, look up, what trademarks there are, and you will see the ones. Undertaker says live. The Undertaker, it says dead. No pun intended. So, we learned that Undertaker's doing Starrcast. Conrad set it all up, of course. This has nothing to do with AEW. Starrcast is something solely ran by Conrad Thompson. He puts everything together. There's no money involved from AEW. Tony Khan's not footing the bill. None of this. It's all Conrad Thompson. So he gets The Undertaker. Now everyone starts saying, oh my God, The Undertaker's going to AEW. The Undertaker's going to show up at Double or Nothing. Are we going to see The Undertaker the next night at May 25th? I don't think so. But Vince McMahon may think so. According to Dave Meltzer on last night's Wrestling Observer Radio, he did state that Vince McMahon's pretty angry, pretty upset, pretty furious that The Undertaker would be working Starrcast, as Vince doesn't understand that Starrcast is Starrcast and Double or Nothing is AEW. He feels that this could be Undertaker jumping brands. Now with that, with Vince being upset, Meltzer did state that The Undertaker was not ever really scheduled for WrestleMania. Vince, though, has now told his creative team to come up with some ideas for The Undertaker. Whether they pitch these ideas to The Undertaker for WrestleMania or not, whether they say, hey, or whether The Undertaker himself actually says, hey, I'll do this, is to be seen. But it's interesting now that he's doing Starrcast, and all of a sudden Vince is like, we need to get him. We need to sign him. And here's the other thing. If Vince does get him for Starrcast, then says, hey, want to work Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia show right now is tentatively set for May 5th. I believe he has one of his Inside the Ropes appearances on the same day. So, I mean, we'll see how it all does go. But as of right now, it doesn't look like Undertaker's really going to be doing anything else with the WWE. Vince could make him a very big offer as far as money-wise and saying, hey, you only got to work for 2 minutes coming to WrestleMania, and I'll pay you $1 million. Something along those lines, maybe. I don't know what he's willing to agree to. I mean, we do know that he's charging $25,000 an hour or $60,000 for 3 hours for his bookings. That's nuts. Crazy. But again, as of right now, Vince McMahon is apparently upset with this. He's upset that this is going on, upset that The Undertaker is quote-unquote betraying him. And Robert Larry asks a great question in the live chat. He says, is Undertaker's contract expired? Undertaker hasn't been under an actual contract for a while. It's just a working agreement that, hey, every year Undertaker will come back and work WrestleMania. It's kind of just like, yeah, Taker will be here. Let's pitch him an idea. They never really had to think of, well, he'll go work for somebody else. Because who really ever thought he would go work for, like, Impact or something? That just makes me laugh thinking about it. I see a couple of you in the chat also asking, how old is The Undertaker? The Undertaker, I believe, let me look this up before I say he is, yes, 53 years old. 53 years old. So, I mean, he doesn't need to be wrestling anymore. I think he's finally learning, I've got such a big name. I can make money doing other things in the business. We did see that he did an interview last year. I forget who the preacher's name is, but he did an interview with some preacher talking about the business. He then also did another interview with Paige's fiance, Aaron Solo, and his buddy talking about the business. And Undertaker kind of ripped on some of these new age guys in said interview. I'll try to find the link and put it in the live chat if I can find it. I don't know if I'll be able to. But they're talking about the current state of wrestling. And Undertaker said that a lot of things that people are missing these days is storytelling. He says nowadays, everyone just wants to get their big moves in to get that big reaction from the crowd. They want to hit their flip to get that pop. They don't want to hit the flip because it's part of a story. They don't want to hit that big move because it sets up something else going forward that tells a story in the ring. He said that's the one big thing that he sees missing from today's wrestling is storytelling, is what did he say? I don't want to put words in his mouth. He basically said he feels like telling stories is what pro wrestling is. And right now, in wrestling, yes, I mean Bailey, Mr. Jones is me, sorry. I meant Bailey. If I said Paige, I apologize. And he said in wrestling, it's not that anymore. Like, there are guys that still like to go out there and tell stories in their matches, but a lot of guys just want to go out there, hit their flips, hit their big moves, and get a pop. I don't disagree at all. That is what a lot of wrestling is nowadays. Some like it, some don't. And it seems like Undertaker doesn't. Undertaker is very old school when it comes to things, so we'll see. But it's a very interesting subject, very interesting topic that Vince McMahon is upset about it. And I don't know. There's just not much more to say other than we'll see what happens come WrestleMania. Apparently, Undertaker was asked to work WrestleCon. And WrestleCon put out a statement saying that they apparently reached out to The Undertaker. And he told them that he wasn't available WrestleMania weekend. So, does that mean he's working WWE? Who knows? Does it just mean he doesn't want to be in New York for that weekend? Who knows? So with that, we'll take some calls in just a quick little bit. And we'll talk about one other thing before we do. And if you guys do want to call in, the phone number is 559-475-8473, 559-475-8473. Also, if you don't want to call in, you can always put your questions here in the live chat. We could do that as well. But the other thing, other news, big news that broke today, a movie's being made about Hulk Hogan. Hollywood Reporter broke the story earlier today that a biopic about Hulk Hogan is being made. And they want Chris Hemsworth. Well, maybe they don't want, they've got. It's not just a want, it's they've got. Chris Hemsworth, Thor, to play Hulk Hogan. Now, according to this report from the Hollywood Reporter, I will read it here. It states the following. Deals for the Hogan project are in the midst of closing with Netflix. So this movie may be going to Netflix. Producing will be Michael Sugar, the Academy Award winner behind Spotlight, who will produce via Netflix's based Sugar 23. He will produce alongside Todd Phillips and Bradley Cooper. Everyone knows who Bradley Cooper is. If you're unaware who Todd Phillips is, Todd Phillips is actually the director of the current movie being filmed for DC Comics' The Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix. He was lead producer on Bradley Cooper's A Star Is Born, and he was the director of the Hangover movies. Also, it does state that former WCW head writer, well, he wasn't a head writer, but basically figurehead and guy that ran the company, Eric Bischoff, will serve as a producer as well, with Hogan being more of a consultant. As far as what this movie is going to be about, the biopic will not divulge into recent years of Hogan's life, but former years. The movie will actually talk about the transformation of Terry Bollea into Hulk Hogan, into the Hulkster, and the rise of Hulkamania becoming a household name. So it does look like that this movie is going to be set in the early 80s, possibly around like the WrestleMania 1 time. Because that is when Hulkamania, Hulk Hogan, all that really started becoming a household name. Well, maybe that's the mid-90s. WrestleMania 1 was 85, so early to mid-90s. I mean, 80s, my bad. Early to mid-80s. And so, with this movie being about Hulk Hogan's earlier life as far as, excuse me, as far as him becoming Hulk Hogan. Now, he was Hulk Hogan, he was called Hulk Hogan before going to WWE or WWF. But he wasn't a household name until Vince put the machine behind him. Vince said, we're going national. We're going to start a WrestleMania. You're my guy. He was basically everything at that time. He bridged that gap between wrestling and pop culture. He was that guy that was able to, how do you say it? He was the guy that was able to really help put pro wrestling on the map again. Now, pro wrestling was on the map with guys like Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair to an extent if you lived in the South. To an extent if maybe you had a family member that watched it and then you saw it. But people in this era that this movie is going to focus on knew about Hulk Hogan, even if you weren't a wrestling fan or never watched wrestling, because Hulk Hogan was showing up on other things like MTV, the Arsenio Hall Show, Johnny Carson. And so it was just the fact of Hulk Hogan was just so big at this time, they're going to show when, you know, his rise to fame, basically. And they've got Chris Hemsworth, who's a very, very good actor, signed on, apparently, to play Hulk Hogan. So, the other question is, who's going to play Vince? You've got to have a Vince character. You can't have the rise of Hulkamania with no Vince. Who's going to play Vince? Bradley Cooper? They wanted Bradley Cooper to play Vince in the Pandemonium biopic about Vince, so, Robert Larry says he was known as Hulk Hogan during his days at the AWA. Correct. That's what I said. He was known as Hulk Hogan even before coming to WWF, but he wasn't known as far as on a big, huge scale. Super Around the Car says Hulk Hogan never appeared on Simpsons. So? He appeared on so many other things. I mean, Bret Hart appeared on The Simpsons. Cool. But, I mean, where do I want to go from here? I think... No, did Hogan appear on The Simpsons? I think Hogan appeared on a later episode of The Simpsons. Not early episodes of The Simpsons, but like way like newer kind of things. I think he was on American Dad as well. I'm not 100% sure about that. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, so I found that very interesting today that they're making a movie about Hulk Hogan. Nothing else is known other than Sugar 23 is going to be producing it. They're Netflix's company. The movie is most likely going to be on Netflix. So basically, if you got a Netflix subscription or a buddy with a Netflix subscription, you will be able to see this movie. And Chris Hemsworth. As far as that, we don't know anything else. We don't know when the movie supposed to start production, when the movie is supposed to start filming, and when they want a projected date for the movie as far as when it's going to come out on Netflix. And no, they wouldn't do that. They've done it before where a movie went to theaters and Netflix at the same time, but I don't think this would. But it's just interesting with this news coming out this week when Fighting With My Family also comes out this week nationwide. So it's like, did someone tip the Hollywood Reporter off on purpose because of what else is coming out this week? Or just a coincidence? But with that, let's take our first call of the night. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
What's up, Tim?
How's it going?
Hey, man, how we talking if you're live?
Excuse me?
I said, how are we talking if you're live?
You called into my Skype number.
Huh?
All right. Let's take another call. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hi, this is Anthony.
How's it going?
I have a question, actually. When it comes to... Oh, sorry. I have feedback. I'm watching you live while I'm watching the show.
Okay.
Oh, yes. While I was watching NXT tonight and stuff like that, and I'm wondering, what do you think about Donovan Dijakovic? Do you think he's a future star on the main roster, or do you see him more as a mid-card person?
I can see Vince looking at him and saying, I love the guy's look. So I can see him eventually being something on the main roster. Eventually. But I don't know if he should come anytime soon. I think putting him down there in NXT and leaving him down there for a while is going to benefit him. I know that.
And why is it that they put... It seems this is what... Some of these indie guys don't necessarily need what's it called, seasoning. They've been on the indie scene for like almost 10 years,
but here's the thing with
years.
That. Here's the thing with that. According to, if you were to talk to Vince McMahon, his thing would be, my audience don't know who they are, so let's put them in NXT so at least half of our audience that watches NXT will know who they are before they come to the main roster. That's his feeling on it.
And do you think once Vince goes to the XFL, do you think anything's going to change when Triple H takes over as a...
No, because Vince even said it. Vince himself said XFL's not really going to take him away from his day-to-day jobs with the WWE. He hired Oliver Luck to do that. He hired Oliver Luck to run the XFL. He's going to be there for big major events and press conferences where they need Vince McMahon. But as far as who's in charge of the XFL, yeah, Vince is the money guy, but Oliver Luck is the guy that's really in charge of this company, not Vince McMahon. It's not going to pull Vince McMahon away from the WWE as far as, oh, Triple H now needs to take over day-to-day. No, that's not going to happen. I don't see that at all.
And you were talking about SmackDown last night or the night before, and I'm wondering, honestly, when I look at a few people, guys like Ciampa, Gargano, Aleister Black, they fit more on SmackDown than Raw. I know Vince likes Aleister Black, but realistically, his wrestling style fits more on SmackDown. So does Ciampa and Gargano. And I agree with you. The big guys like Lars Sullivan and stuff would be better on Raw and stuff like that. Like the technical wrestlers would do better on SmackDown. Do you agree with that? Or not really?
Kind of. I'm not going to get too much into that because that's going to tie in with spoilers from tonight's NXT TV tapings, which I'm going to talk about towards the end of the show. So if anybody doesn't want spoilers, they can tune out then. But I do think that as of right now, the plan is for those 4 guys to be working main roster as far as Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. When that comes to live events, I don't actually know right now where they're all going to fit in. I don't know if those guys are now just main roster live events, or if they're still going to be working the NXT, live events as well. That is up in the air. We'll probably figure out more this weekend once live events do begin kicking off on Friday, and so we'll see. But as of right now, I don't want to talk too much early on in the show with spoiler stuff. We're going to keep that for the end of the show.
Well, what's your hope though with Aleister, Johnny, and Tommaso? Do you prefer? As a fan of,
well, don't forget Ricochet. Ricochet's lumped in there too.
Yeah. Oh, those 3 guys. Since you're a fan of those 4 guys, do you prefer them as a SmackDown, like permanently on SmackDown, or would you rather see them on Raw?
It just depends. I will honestly, Ciampa and Gargano, if they're going to remain a tag team, put them on Raw. Raw is most likely. We don't know how the dynamic will change once. Everything shifts over to Fox, but as of right now, Raw is the bigger brand. Raw is the main brand. You don't have to be, as we've seen with the Revival, bigger guys to get over in the tag team division. So if they're going to keep those guys as a tag team, put them on Raw where there's more time for them to get focused on. As far as the other 2 guys, Aleister Black and Ricochet, they may be suited better on SmackDown if you keep SmackDown the more indie-like show.
And the storyline they're setting up with Braun, Drew, and Baron, who do you think his partner is going to be? If they're going to do a tag team match, do you think it's going to be Kurt Angle, or do you think they're going to use a younger guy to pair up with Braun Strowman, maybe like Lars Sullivan or someone to come up and partner him up as a tag team, like to go against Drew and Baron at WrestleMania?
With that, I want to say thank you for the call. As far as Braun Strowman and the Baron Corbin thing goes, I really don't know where this is leading to. I mean, when you look at Elimination Chamber, you would have thought, all right, this is leading to some sort of a tag team match, maybe a handicap tag team match, maybe something along those lines. But then come Monday, nobody came out to help Baron Corbin. Corbin just got beaten a 13-minute match against Braun, tables match. So it's like, are they really leading to a tag team match? It seems like they change their mind every other day. But if they do, they've already teased that it could be Kurt Angle. But at the same time, they're teasing Kurt Angle's retirement, which means Kurt Angle could be doing a singles retirement match come WrestleMania. So everything's up in the air right now. I don't even think they know. I mean, according to multiple sources that we're hearing things from, it looks like WWE really doesn't have many plans in place for WrestleMania. They know the WWE Universal Championship match. They know the Raw Women's Championship match. They have a plan in place for the WWE Championship match, but other than that, they have some ideas floating around, but nothing that they would even call kind of concrete. I mean, if you guys didn't hear the news, it looks like as of right now, if no plans change, Kevin Owens, upon returning to the WWE after injury and having double knee surgery, will be challenging Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, maybe for the WWE Championship. According to Jeremy Botter over at Bleacher Report, he did report today that right now, Daniel Bryan's basically figured-in opponent, not concrete yet because nothing's official, but figured-in opponent is going to be Kevin Owens, but Botter did not mention anything as far as the championship. Botter did not mention anything as far as the WWE Championship being on the line. I don't expect Kofi to win the title at Fastlane. So I do expect WWE title to be on the line. Daniel Bryan defending against Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. And they could always tie in last year where Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan were in a match together at WrestleMania in a tag team match. So I don't know where that's going to lead to, or I know where it's going to lead to, but I don't know how they get to that. So that'll be another interesting one as far as WrestleMania goes. I think, really thinking about this, this is probably the first year that this late into the year, we don't know the main matches for WrestleMania, like a 5-6 match card already. That we don't know where they're working towards, because honestly, they don't know. They don't know what they're working towards right now. They know what they need to have on the show. How they get there, they don't even know. I see a lot of people in the chat saying Batista versus Triple H. That 99% not going to happen because Triple H had bicep surgery, pectoral surgery, my bad. And Triple H most likely will not be cleared in time for WrestleMania. Now it's Triple H. He may say, screw it, I'm 90%, I'm 80%, I'll work the match anyways. Dave will take care of me. I don't know if he should do that at his age. But Triple H is not going to be ready. Batista and WWE, they're talking, but nothing's seems like anything's going to come of it. Batista always said, the last couple of years, he wants to come back and do one final program against Triple H and then be done with wrestling and never want to think about wrestling. Well, no, I digress. He didn't say that. He didn't say never want to think about wrestling again. But he doesn't want, when he says, or when he gets that interview question of, so you ever going to go back to WWE? He can say, no, I did my final thing that I wanted to do, a big storyline with Triple H. That's what I wanted to end everything out. And so he wants to be able to just put a bow on his wrestling career as he does progress in Hollywood, playing Drax the Destroyer for Marvel and Disney and other things that he's doing as well. Terrence Sproles says, will the Rock be at WrestleMania? Who knows? That's one that they probably don't even know till the week of. So that's a tough one because The Rock's a very busy man. And it all depends on if he's filming anything around that time. Can he be physical? Can he not be physical? What can he do? What can't he do? Suprit says, will Batista and Triple H be a good match? I think it could be. I think it will be a good match. Kristen McNutt. I have not heard that at all, so I'm not even going to read it. Because that just seems far-fetched to me because, if you're hearing that rumor on Twitter or something, it's probably just because all the others. So if someone's like, let's make up another story. I haven't heard that. I don't think it's true, so. Just looking through the chat here before we talk about a little more stuff. Gas Chamber says, Leo Rush versus Ricochet. That match could be great. Sage Slim says, really hoping for Cruiserweight Tag Team Championships. Some really good teams they could put together. Very true. Speaking of the Cruiserweight division, last night on 205 Live, it was announced that they will be doing an 8-man single elimination tournament over the next couple of weeks leading up to WrestleMania, where the winner of this 8-man single elimination tournament will be taking on Buddy Murphy at WrestleMania with the Cruiserweight Championship on the line. We don't know as of right now who is going to be in this tournament, but we can assume some names like Baby Drew Gulak, Cedric Alexander, Tony Nese, Noam Dar, Leo Rush even maybe, just to name a few. Maybe they pull somebody up from NXT to be in this tournament like they did last year with Roderick Strong. But that was the big announcement as far as what they were teasing for last night's 205 Live. Drake Maverick did announce that they will be holding a tournament, which could be the new norm for 205 Live and doing a tournament leading up to WrestleMania. They did one last year when they had to crown a new champion, and they're doing one this year to crown a new number one contender. I think it should be good. Give people a reason to want to watch 205 Live because there's stakes on the line. When matches have a purpose, it makes people more interested. Psycho Dad, no. Maria's not an active roster on the wrestler. My bad. An active wrestler on the roster as far as getting championship opportunities. That'll never happen. Plus, Maria's not even good enough to face Asuka. Brandon James says, do y'all think an NXT invasion is coming? No, I do not. I might get more into that tonight when we talk the NXT spoilers, but I don't think an NXT invasion is coming. Gargano does keep saying, he said both Monday and Tuesday, that, hey, I'm here to take over. But as far as him taking over, I don't think it means take over as far as like an invasion. Just looking here at the chat before we start talking a little more other stuff. A couple other things we want to talk about before we get into those NXT TV spoilers. All right, so before we get into the NXT TV spoilers, this will all full circle around. So this past Monday, on Monday Night Raw, the show seemed very weird. And I'm not just talking about that weird crowd in Lafayette, Louisiana. It seems like WWE really didn't know what they were doing going into this show. So, let me pull up. Okay, so going into this Monday, WWE, more specifically Vince McMahon, knew that he wanted to make some changes. He wanted to freshen things up, some may say. And so he asked somebody, not Triple H, hey, who are the top 4 guys in NXT? Who are the top 4 guys on that brand? He was told, well, the champions are Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Also, Ricochet and Aleister Black are considered top guys as well. Now, before I keep going, all this news that I'm about to talk does come from Dave Meltzer last night in the Wrestling Observer Radio. So, Vince was told, these are the 4 guys that are considered the top guys in NXT. He then said, all right, bring them up. Call them to the main roster. And Triple H was not made aware of this initially. Like, he didn't consult with Triple H, say, hey, are these 4 guys good? Am I being told the right thing? Is there somebody else you would consider better? And he just said, bring them up. As far as the booking of these 4 men, some are comparing the teaming of Johnny Gargano and Ciampa on the main roster to the Bashams back in 2003. Now, if you are unaware, the Basham brothers were not always the Basham brothers. When they were in OVW in developmental, one was a Basham and the other, I can't remember what his name was, Damaha, something like that. They were feuding. They were one of the top feuds in OVW. Vince saw both guys and said, who are those guys? He was told, that's just so-and-so and that's so-and-so. And Vince goes, they're not a team. They look like brothers. And they were like, no, they're feuding. He goes, bring them up. We're going to make them a tag team. Change that guy's name to Basham. They gave him a huge push. Gave him the SmackDown tag team titles. They put him with JBL in his cabinet. And some are comparing the Johnny Gargano-Tommaso Ciampa deal now to that. It was Doug and Danny Suprip. Not Doug and Dash. But his name wasn't Doug Basham when he was in developmental, though. So anyways, the thing is, Gargano and Ciampa have been feuding for almost a year, on and off for a year. And if you're going to have them feuding, and everyone was under the impression that this was all going to lead to a big match takeover WrestleMania weekend for the championship. But now they're a tag team, which, trust me, I'm getting into this. I'm going to tell you when the spoilers are coming because this all ties together. And now we'll see what happens in NXT. But if these guys are a tag team on the main roster, beating the Raw Tag Team Champions, supposedly getting a title shot at Fastlane, what does this mean for NXT? What does this mean for that brand and their booking going forward? So Vince calls all these guys up. It's odd that they put Ciampa and Gargano together, even though they've been feuding for the last year. We've got Ricochet. According to Meltzer, originally, Vince said, I want to do a hell of a match. Let's do Ricochet versus Finn Balor. Now, title was not going to be on the line or anything. But then Triple H, being the smart man that he is, said, no, we cannot do Finn Balor versus Ricochet. And his thinking was, Ricochet's not going to lose in his debut. Finn Balor can't lose the night after winning the Intercontinental Championship. So please don't do that match. And they changed it. They did Ricochet and Finn Balor taking on Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. And then the whole thing with, some felt that the Aleister Black debut on Raw against Elias was just kind of meh. Kind of fell flat. Now, another big thing that happened with Monday's show was that it was supposed to be heavily focused on Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was originally scripted to be all over this show, but that was actually not possible due to Rollins still being hurt. Rollins is still dealing with a lower back issue, and he is actually not cleared to compete. This is not considered to be anything serious, just an injury from a wear and tear over many years, and they feel like he'll be healed up over the next couple of weeks with plenty of rest. Now, when they had to pull everything Seth Rollins off the show, they figured out, they realized, hey, we've got extra time now. Where do we put it? They ended up putting it to the Ronda Rousey match. Now, going into Monday, even before Elimination Chamber, the plan was for Ronda Rousey to face Alexa Bliss in a squash match. When they realized on Monday, we're going to give more time to the Rousey match, they figured, but it can't be against Alexa Bliss, because they feel that Ronda works better against Ruby Riott. In a long-form match, they felt that the better plan was Ruby versus Ronda instead of Alexa versus Ronda, and that tells a lot about the main roster and how they feel about Ruby Riott. Maybe that is a Ronda thing that she asked for when she was told you're going to get more time, but it's interesting. Going forward, that match ended up going 11 and a half minutes. Didn't really need to go that long. Finally, Meltzer reported that Vince McMahon did not actually show up to the building until 1 or 2 p.m. local time, which is actually late for him. And as far as the script of the show goes, the script was not completed nor finalized until 30 minutes into the show going on the air. So, it was very chaotic this past Monday, and you can't say it was all Vince's fault. Vince had an idea, and he ran with it. I mean, the show was really good with those 4 NXT call-ups on there and some of the other things they did. The crowd just really killed it. And then when you look at SmackDown, they had a lot of great matches again with the 4 NXT call-ups and the 6-man tag team match main event and whatnot. And so we'll see where this leads to. Again, like I said earlier, as of right now, the plan is for these 4 NXT call-ups to remain working NXT but also be working the main roster. So, speaking of NXT, before we do get into talking NXT, we'll take a couple more calls. So if you do want to call into the show, you can do so by calling 559-475-8473. Now, we'll talk about one quick thing, a little housekeeping. Next week, we've got something special for you guys before we do our PWUnlimited live show. We're live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, but before we're live with this show next week, we're also going to be live with some What Wrestling. Yes, wrestling has a tomorrow. Us here at Pro Wrestling Unlimited has teamed with Wrestling Has a Tomorrow for our second match stream of the year. Join us next Wednesday, February 27th, right here on the PWUnlimited YouTube channel for a free indie wrestling event stream featuring ECW legend Tommy Dreamer, current NXT superstars Danny Burch and Keith Lee, hardcore icon Matt Trenton, JT Dunn, Jimmy Jacobs, and more. Discover tomorrow's talent today. The stream will begin next Wednesday, February 27th at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So set your reminders and come to the chat soon. As that show does go off the air, we will then switch everything over and we'll jump right in to the PWUnlimited Wednesday show, episode number 65. Now, let's hear from you guys, and let's hear what you guys have to say. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm going good. I just want to get your opinion on something. Now that, as of now, or like eight or six, some current wrestlers asked for their WWE release. Do you think Ty? I think Ty actually may get this because, to be honest with you, they don't use him at all. Like, at all.
Now, here was my thinking when I saw what he posted on Twitter last night. When I saw that he actually went public with it, I feel like now, as of today, he had not gotten his release. Last I looked into it was around, I want to say, 3 p.m. Pacific time. So as of then, he had not gotten his release. But I feel the reason he went public with it is because maybe he got some sort of an inkling or an indication that they may be giving it to him. Now, if he didn't get any indication, I don't see the reason for him to go public with it. But I just feel that maybe they gave him some sort of a feeling or some sort of an indication that, yeah, we'll probably give this to you. Now, like I said, as of this afternoon, he had not gotten it yet, but it does look very likely since they really weren't ever going to use him that prominently on the main roster anyways. I mean, technically, he was signed to NXT to never come to the main roster. He was basically signed to be a guy in NXT to help train, kind of train guys on their way up to the main roster. Kind of say, hey,
like a Cash Arizona?
Exactly. He was always signed because he worked in WWE before, so he knows how WWE operates, and he was signed as a guy to say, hey, we're going to bring guys in, you're going to work with them, they're going to work with somebody good because you're good, and then you can help them learn our style before we move them up.
I've heard that. One last thing. This is also about like some wrestlers that they don't use, and I think they should ask their release. I don't. If they don't, they don't. I think the Ascension should ask their release. They're too good just not to do anything. NXT, yeah, I know NXT Vince doesn't watch, but they can go toe to toe with anybody, and I just think they've just been underused.
Oh, ever since they came to the main roster, I mean, it's almost an AOP situation because when you think about it, Ascension came to the main roster as the most dominant tag team that had been in NXT to that date. Granted, NXT hadn't really been NXT that long, but they were the most dominant tag team to date in NXT. They come to the main roster. They made them look good for maybe a month, and then they were just whatever guys. And I feel like they're
that's happened to them. That's happened to Sanity.
Yep.
It's just bad. They don't know. Eric Young's been in this business for a long time. Those guys, they work their butt off, and I just don't believe they deserve any of that. They're just too good for that.
And it's just very interesting to think like these guys were used so good in NXT. They come to the main roster, and they're used like nothing guys. So the question is, does Triple H even have any say on the main roster? Because if he did, if he had enough say, he would say, hey, no, we need to use these guys like this. This is how we got them over. This is why they're coming to the main roster, because they got over doing this. Let's do this with them. But when you see so many... Is it
possible that they have too much talent on the roster that they just don't know what to do?
That's 100% possible. I mean, not even possible. That's for sure. They've got so many people signed down to the Performance Center that they can't even use right now. They have more people than they can use. And that's a bad thing. When you think about it, you've got 1 hour every week of NXT. You can only put so many guys on the show each week. You've got 3 hours of Raw.
Yeah.
You got, 3 hours of Raw. So it's like, okay, you can fit more people on Raw than you can the 2 hours of SmackDown. But when you look at the show, yeah, you can do a lot of match shows, but you still need to incorporate different kinds of segments as well to tie everything together. So yeah, you're completely right there in thinking there's too many people on this roster than you have space to actually use. Now, we do see guys like Sanity. They're basically house show guys. Yeah, that's all fun and games, but you want to be on TV. You want to be on TV getting opportunities to grow your character, to advance your character, and maybe one day finally get a championship opportunity and even maybe a championship.
Yeah, I hear all that. I completely agree. Well, I won't let other people call in, so thanks for the time. Thanks for the time, bro.
Thanks for the call, and have a great night.
See you, man.
All right, let's take this call here. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hello?
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 Hello? How's it going?
Hi, is this Tim?
Yes.
Hello?
What's your question, bud?
Hello? Oh, hey, I just want to ask, man, have you guys got any update on Ciampa? I mean, did he get injured?
Oh, no. He worked multiple matches tonight's NXT TV tapings. He's perfectly fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he worked at least 2 or 3 matches, I believe.
Because I mean, that was a bad spot I seen there on.
It looked bad.
Did Sheamus get hurt?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Also, I was going to ask, oh man, I forgot. Did Becky Lynch, is she going to come back on the show? Because it seemed like they was just like writing her off the show or something, basically.
No, Becky will be back. The match for WrestleMania will be Ronda, Becky, Charlotte. It is going to be a triple threat, so Becky will eventually be back on Raw or SmackDown. Eventually, it's going to have to be Raw since this is the Raw Women's Championship. But Becky will be back in time to set up that triple threat match for WrestleMania.
It seems like they're trying to kind of blow her off, though. I mean, putting Charlotte in the match, and
But I mean, that's the whole thing. They want us to think that Becky's getting screwed over and over again. They want the fans to be as behind Becky as possible. So when she wins that title at WrestleMania, she gets the biggest pop possible. So they want everybody to think that Becky just keeps getting screwed and screwed and screwed, whether she's getting screwed by Vince, whether she's getting screwed by Stephanie and Triple H, whether she's getting screwed like at TLC by Ronda Rousey. They want everybody to think that they're just holding Becky down. And so when she wins that title in Mania against both Ronda and Charlotte Flair, she gets the biggest pop possible.
So what do you think? Charlotte takes the pin?
That's a tough one. I'd almost say yes, but at the same time, if Ronda's leaving and taking some time off right after Mania, you would almost say beat Ronda, but then at the same time, it's like, no, because then you have a built-in storyline as far as Ronda can come straight back into the title picture saying, hey, I didn't lose, Charlotte lost. So I guess in the long run, have Charlotte take the pin, but for short term, I don't think she should. But if you want long-term booking, Charlotte should take the pin or tap out.
What if, like, let's say, maybe like Sasha and Bayley come in and interfere or something, maybe, and then they do the 4 horsewoman thing.
But Charlotte's super heel. Becky's a babyface. Sasha and Bayley are babyfaces. You're not going to turn Charlotte from super mega heel to super mega babyface during that match.
Yeah, I know that.
Plus,
I don't know.
If you're thinking they're
going
to
figure out how.
But here's the other thing. How are they going to do 4 horsewomen in a match that Becky and Charlotte are against each other, both trying to win a championship in?
Yeah. No, I understand that, but I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how, because I know they're big on Charlotte, and if Charlotte ain't gonna win, I mean, it seems like they probably pull some kind of interference or something, like to make it where she doesn't make it to where she doesn't get pinned clean or whatever,
No, I don't think that's gonna happen, because I mean, she's the heel. Heels don't, essentially in the end, heels don't have friends to help them at the end of the storyline. Heels have friends to help them in the middle and the beginning of a storyline.
Right. No, I'm saying, like, maybe they would have some kind of false finish or something where, Charlotte doesn't necessarily get.
Becky needs to win that title clean in the middle of the ring, so that way she
Absolutely.
gets that huge pop at the end of the night. Because if there's any kind of screwy finish, that crowd's just gonna, even though it's Becky, hate on everything. But I want to say thank you for the call and have a great night.
All right, thanks for taking the call, buddy. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you. All right, so if anybody else does want to call in, 559-475-8473. We are going to get in some NXT spoilers, but I'll take a few more calls after we talk NXT as well. So with that, it is now time for spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. So tonight, NXT ascended on Full Sail University, as they usually do every month or so. And we had some NXT TV tapings. We did learn, now this isn't a spoiler, but we did learn the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is coming back to the NXT. We learned that tonight they will be filming the first 2 rounds of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Then, at the next TV tapings, which will actually be the last tapings before WrestleMania week, they'll film the finals. The winners of this tournament will go on to WrestleMania weekend, NXT TakeOver Blacklist in Brooklyn, and challenge the War Raiders for the NXT Tag Team Championships. So, the first thing we did see was the War Raiders defeating the team of guys I've never heard of, Vandal Ortangun and Chico Adams. Johnny Gargano would come out and address the live crowd. Now, if you haven't seen tonight's NXT, spoilers for that, Velveteen Dream is the new North American champion. So, Gargano comes out, talks about how he's had an interesting week, discussed his failures defending the NXT championship, the North American championship. Tommaso Ciampa would then come out and say Gargano is only his best when he's teaming with him. He's saying that when they're DIY, that's when Gargano is his best, and that they should be partners in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And Gargano accepts. We then get Vanessa Bourne and Aaliyah defeating the team of Xia Li and Tainara Conti. Dominic Dijakovic takes on Keith Lee, but the match actually ends in a double countout. The crowd then starts chanting, "Let them fight," restart the match, and bring out Regal, but they never restart the match. Shayna Baszler would then go on to defeat Mia Yim. In a first-round match for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament, or Tag Team Classic, Aleister Black and Ricochet would defeat Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel. In a confrontation, Matt Riddle would come out to congratulate the Velveteen Dream and challenge him for the North American title. Velveteen Dream would go on to say something about the spotlight only shines on him. Spotlight then shines on him as he's standing on the announce table. And when the spotlight goes back out and then it's just the regular lights, all of a sudden Matt Riddle had disappeared. Very odd. In another Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first round match, Mustache Mountain would defeat the Street Profits. Going forward in another Dusty Classic match, first rounder, DIY would defeat the team of the Undisputed Era. This combination was Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. War Raiders would then come out on the top of the stage. They would stare down to the ring as DIY would stare back at them, making you think DIY could be winning this tournament. Luke Menzies would then go on to defeat Eric Bugenhagen. Bugenhagen played an encore throughout the arena. Sasha Banks and Bayley would actually appear at the tapings to come out and celebrate their win of the Women's Tag Team Championships. They stated that these championships are for Raw, for SmackDown, and for NXT. They said that if any of the women in the back wanted to step up and challenge, more than willing. Pat McAfee would come out and join the broadcast team. Adam Cole would defeat Punishment Martinez. Velveteen Dream and Cole had a brawl after Adam Cole called out and challenged the Velveteen Dream. Punishment Martinez would get involved, and Dream would end up hitting his Purple Rainmaker elbow on Adam Cole. It was very interesting here that Matt Riddle first challenged Velveteen Dream, then that was just blown off as a nothing thing, and Adam Cole challenged Dream, and they actually had a brawl. In a second round match for the Dusty Tag Team Classic, the Forgotten Sons upset victory over Mustache Mountain, making it to the finals. So the Forgotten Sons are in the finals. We then had Io Shirai versus Bianca Belair. Winner would go on to NXT TakeOver Blacklist in Brooklyn to challenge Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. The match actually ended in a double disqualification when Baszler would run down and attack both women. Kairi Sane would try to come out, and she would choke her out. Io Shirai would gain her composure, and Shayna would just choke her out again. Then, in another semi-final match with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, Ricochet and Aleister Black defeated the team of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. DIY eliminated. And this was the final match of the TV tapings, but that's not where the fun ended. So, match ends. Gargano got pinned by Ricochet. And apparently Gargano's, quote-unquote, knocked out or something. So Candice LeRae comes out. And let me talk about this for a second. Has Candice LeRae been the biggest waste right now in NXT? She's wrestled like a handful of times. Yes, she was in the Women's Rumble, but by God, what is she? Just Johnny's wife? She only ever shows up as Johnny's wife. Anyways. So Candice comes out to check on Johnny. And it looks like her and Ciampa are helping Johnny to the back. As they get to the top of the ramp, it looks like, you know, they're going to just walk out. But then Ciampa grabs Johnny like he's going to throw him into the big old Titantron. But Johnny was playing possum. Johnny said, haha, I got you, Ciampa. And he ends up attacking and beating down Ciampa. The show ends, the night ends, with Johnny Gargano standing tall over Tommaso Ciampa, his wife by his side, and him kind of doing the whole I want your belt pose, leading us to believe that that match that we've been thinking was going to happen for a year is going to happen. It looks like NXT TakeOver Blacklist in Brooklyn, WrestleMania weekend. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, the NXT Heavyweight Championship. But here's the thing. They're a tag team on the main roster. What? What? Yeah. They're still enemies in NXT, but they're a tag team on the main roster, most likely going up against the Revival for the Tag Team Championships at Fastlane. Now, of course, all of this, where they attack each other and Gargano stands tall at the end, will most likely air after Fastlane. So what they can do is they're a team leading up. They go to Fastlane. They do all of this. But then when they do the big breakup, the big big swerve on NXT television, then they can translate to the main roster and be like, well, these guys ain't friends. These guys can't get along. They beat the crap out of each other. So hopefully there's consistency here between what they're doing in NXT with these guys and what they do with them on the main roster. Chris McNutt says it doesn't make sense. It should make sense in the long run if it actually goes down the way it should. If they have the consistency and the continuity on the main roster with what they just filmed tonight, then it should be fine. Yes, Noob and Co., they're going to kill each other. This is going to be one of the greatest NXT matches of all time. We thought that their other matches were good. We thought those other matches were great. No. 5-star Johnny, it's about to pull out, in my opinion. If this match can go as good as I think it can go, if these guys put everything on the line, this could be the first ever 6-star match in WWE. I think these guys have the potential to do so. With that was everything that took place at tonight's NXT TV tapings. If you guys want to call in, take a couple final calls. 559-475-8473. 559-475-8473. We'll take a few more calls before we wrap everything up here. Just reading some of the stuff in the chat. Nathan Wallace says Gargano versus Ciampa for the NXT title should be loser leaves NXT. Yeah, that'd be a nice one. I always thought the loser leaves NXT things was weird when it's like you're leaving NXT to get a promotion. Super says AEW taking big dig at Candice LeRae in the latest. No, it's not a big dig at Candice. It's a big dig at Joey, saying that, hey, Joey, you can't even protect yourself. Remember when you had a girl to protect you? That's not a dig at Candice at all. Let's take a call. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Pretty good yourself?
Good. My question was, I know you just gone over like the whole NXT like TV taping spoilers, but so what exactly happened? Because I kind of tuned into the show a little late, so can you kind of go over a little, like sum it up real quick?
Well, they did the first 2 rounds of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Gargano and Ciampa were a team in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. It looks like the NXT Women's Championship match at TakeOver will be a triple threat with Shayna Baszler defending against both Io Shirai and Bianca Belair.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end, they basically said that Gargano was going to challenge Ciampa for the NXT Championship at TakeOver because Ciampa tried to kill Gargano. Gargano swerved and countered it and beat down Ciampa.
Oh, I see. Interesting. And also
there was one other big thing. The Forgotten Sons defeated Mustache Mountain in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic to go on to the finals.
Oh, okay. Interesting. My other question was, you had mentioned that Gargano and Ciampa can pull off this 6-star match. In my personal opinion, I'm hoping Lesnar and Rollins can pull off that 6-star match. I would really love to see that.
Ain't gonna happen. Brock will never work hard enough to get a 6-star match. No. Brock's gonna go in there and have the mentality of, what do they want me to do? Okay, that's what they want me to do. I'll just do what they want me to do. He ain't gonna go out there. Now Rollins may try and overachieve, but Brock ain't gonna try and overachieve. Brock's gonna do exactly what he needs to do to make his money.
Yeah, you're right. What am I thinking? Anyway, another question. So, have they confirmed yet who Sasha and Bayley are going to challenge at Fastlane for the titles?
They haven't confirmed, but what I'm hearing is Nia and Tamina.
Nia and Tamina? I think they should probably do Sonya and Mandy better.
Would work if Mandy's challenging Asuka for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, though.
That's true. I mean, you think honestly she deserves that push, like, for the championship?
I mean, when you look at all the women on the SmackDown brand, why not? She is a very hard worker. We have seen her improve greatly since she was on, when she started in Tough Enough in 2014. She has improved a lot, and I've always heard that she's one of the hardest workers they've got down when she was in the Performance Center before she was even on NXT. So, I really do think that she has, some can say deserved it, but she's just worked towards this.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, honestly, too, I mean, she's really pretty. I mean, she's got a good look, too, so I think it can make a good look good. Yeah. All right, well, thanks, Tim.
All right, with that,
appreciate
thanks for the call, and have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
All right. Just looking at the chat. Sprit Ram the Car says, you want a 6-star match from Lesnar? I have seen all. I mean, WrestleMania 32. Dean said it. Brock went in there and wouldn't do nothing. Broken Rupert says, thoughts on Jay White winning? I think it's good. Jay White winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Why not? You need to do something new. Tanahashi, he can win the title back at MSG. Maybe Okada wins the title in MSG. We'll see. It all depends on who wins New Japan Cup. Just looking at the chat before we take another call. AJ Stone says, wouldn't an I Quit match be best for Ciampa and Gargano? I mean, we already saw Last Man Standing, so why? You don't need an I Quit match. Or wait, I think they already did an I Quit match. Hold on. I know they did the Last Man Standing. I don't think they did the I Quit match, actually. I think it was a street fight. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a Chicago street fight, and then it was a Last Man Standing. That's what it was. But let's take a call. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, Tim. I just wanted to talk to you about how come you and Nick don't. I mean, I know he's not on the show anymore, but you guys are still friends, right?
Yeah.
So are you guys gonna do? I mean, are you ever gonna do the live watch? You know how you used to watch the pay-per-view live?
We only did that once, and the reason I don't.
Are you gonna ever do it again?
Well, it's not really that possible for me because I have kids, and so when the pay-per-views are on, they're running around the house screaming and yelling, playing. So I'm not going to be doing a podcast or a live watch along where my kids are in the background, running around playing. It's just not professional.
All right, that's all I wanted to ask.
Okay, I guess that was it. Interesting. No, I mean, I'm not going to do anything that's going to make me look unprofessional. And honestly, we did the live watch along before, and it really didn't do great views. It didn't do any more than just doing the regular podcast review after the show was. So, honestly, why do something that's not a benefit when we can benefit more by doing just the regular podcast afterwards? Let's take another call. Caller on the air, what's going on?
Hey, Sam.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was thinking this for NXT Takeover between Johnny and Ciampa match. I think they should do 3 stages of hell match.
Okay, and what will your stages be?
Maybe like a table match, steel cage.
Pardon?
They can do the table match, maybe Extreme Rules match. Do you think they can do like an ambulance match?
Lost him. Call dropped out. Sorry about that. Lost the call. I don't know. He was breaking in and out, and then it just went out. I think he was saying something about do a 3 stages of hell for Ciampa and Gargano. I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of 3 stages of hell. I would rather see an Iron Man match before I'd see 3 stages of hell, to be honest. Broken Dream says, just do a death match. There you go. Just do a death match. Roxlaw says, Tim, do you got the Heath Slater shirt? No, I don't, but got an idea for a shirt that I'm coming out with. Marcus Ryan says, you think WB could see a fatal 4-way for the women's NXT title at TakeOver? From what they booked tonight, I mean, maybe a 4-way, but it looks more to me like it's going to be a triple threat since it was supposed to be Io versus Bianca in a number 1 contenders match. So since there was no winner in the number 1 contenders match, then it should end up being a triple threat. Yes, Kyrie came out to make the save, but it wasn't like that number 1 contenders match was a triple threat. So I think it's going to be just the triple threat for the title, not a fatal 4. Excuse me, not a fatal 4-way. Chris Jones versus Gargano says Gargano versus Ciampa should be buried alive. Hell no. Hell no. You know a buried alive match without the Undertaker? What are you? What are you? Deaf? Robert Larry says the final match between Gargano and Ciampa must be historic, that everybody will watch it over and over again. Heck yeah, and I think they know that. So I think that's why they're going to put everything they have into this match to make it as great as possible, with possibly getting a 6-star match. Super says, will the women's tag team titles be defended for NXT UK? I don't know. We know that they're going to, because Sasha and Bayley showed up for regular NXT, but there's not enough women on the UK roster anyways to do tag teams. I mean, they could just come out and have 2 random women together challenge them, which would be fine. Maybe like Killer Kelly and Ginny teaming up or something. Maurice Ray says Hell in a Cell. I don't see them doing a Hell in a Cell for NXT. I mean, they could, but I don't see it. Jim Graciano says Iron Man match. I can see that. That's what I said earlier. Maybe do an Iron Man match. Do where you've got 4 or 5 matches on the show. You've got you do a 3-hour show. 1 hour devoted to them and the other 2 to the other 4 matches. But with that, let's take our final call of the night. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hello, Tim.
Hello.
Tim, I got a question.
Okay.
Why do they keep treating the NXT talent on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown like the minor leagues? If you didn't listen this past week, they kept not putting down, but they kept saying Gargano and Ciampa got an upset victory over Sheamus and Cesaro, and I feel like they shouldn't start from the bottom. They should like start from the top, because like NXT is basically a third brand, and like it's kind of like disrespecting NXT in a sort of way.
No, not really. Here's what it is. So NXT is considered developmental. It's not on the same level as Raw and SmackDown. It is basically like, okay, we've got this great MLB or this great college pitcher. He's going to go to our minor league team. He's going to do great things on our minor league team, and then he's going to come to the major league. He's then going to go to the major league, and when he gets his first big win on in the majors, then they can say, oh, wow, what an upset victory by this rookie. Basically, when you go from NXT to the main roster, you're considered a rookie, no matter how long you've been doing this. It's just like with baseball. No matter how old you are, when you first get signed, most likely you're going to the minor league team. Then, when you come up to the major leagues, no matter how old you are or how long you've been playing baseball, you're considered a rookie, since it's technically you're new to the roster. You're new to the league. And it's the same thing with WWE. You do NXT, you stay down there for 2 years, 3 years, however many years, and then when you come up to the main roster, you're a rookie.
Yeah.
So it's like the rookie beat the veteran.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to like for you to answer my question. Thank you, Tim.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Have a good night.
All right. So with that, I'm going to wrap things up here. I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us live for tonight's PWUnlimited podcast. I also want to thank everybody who's watching later here on YouTube.com. Always follow us right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited's YouTube channel. Hit that bell button to get notifications when we post new videos. And you can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling ULTD. Follow us on Twitter at PWUnlimited. And follow our Patreon, patreon.com/PWUnlimited. And our website, PWUnlimited.com. With that, again, I want to say thank you, everybody who watched live, everybody who participated in the live chat, who called in tonight, and everybody who watched later here on YouTube. We'll see you later. Have a good night, guys.